A woman arrives at the police station to clean, but she immediately notices mistakes in the investigation process. Her mind starts analyzing and realizes that the police have mistaken the victim for the suspect. She changes the label from suspect to victim. The next day, Detective Adam, who is in charge of the case, bursts out in anger, yelling,
"Who did this? Who changed our board? A man is dead, our primary suspect is missing. This is not a joke."
Fortunately, there are surveillance cameras at the station. Officer Selena mentions that Morgan's involvement in a criminal case could land her in jail. Morgan acts innocent, simply explaining that she just wanted to help fix the errors, wondering how it could be considered interference. Adam is frustrated. However, Selena ignores Adam's frustration, instead pulling out the case files and asking Morgan to explain herself. Now it's her chance to show her deductive skills.
You've got a dead body. I'm assuming you think this lady offed her husband, but that's not possible. Look at this room. Look at this couch. All of these pillows are evenly spaced with alternating colors. Check out these shelves. Those objects are perfectly sized. Even the choice of metals is consistent. This house is immaculate. The owner is a tidiness freak, except all of these curtains are fastened with a tie back except for one for some reason. That's odd, isn't it? You're telling me this woman who meticulously arranges her couch pillows doesn't care about her curtains? So the tie back must have been used for something else. See, look, you've got hairs stuck to the chair leg. Somebody put tape around it, ripped it off, the glue stayed, and trapped the little bits. That means someone was tied up with the curtain cord and taped to the chair around their ankles. And since there are no marks on the victim's wrist, means there was a third person. We have Lynette tied to the chair, victim on the ground, and our unknown bondage freak who was either kidnapped or bumped off Lynette.
Morgan's deduction is flawless, leaving even Adam, a seasoned detective, with no way to argue. But he still wants to counter her, and just as he speaks, a junior officer arrives and confirms.
A woman was seen entering the house at the time of the murder.
The third person!
Even so, Morgan has broken protocol. Adam orders her to be held in a detention room, but he feels uneasy about it. He has to admit that Morgan's deduction is accurate, and they are now forced to restart the investigation, determined to quickly locate the missing individual. Luckily, a security camera near the crime scene captured footage of an Asian woman who was present on the day of the incident. Although she denies involvement and has no alibi, Adam and his team consider her their main suspect. However, Morgan, who is preparing to sign a confidentiality agreement, quickly glances at the footage and immediately notices that the video is not from the day of the incident. It turns out that, in the video, the wind is blowing southeast. But at this time of year, the wind in the city should be blowing northwest. Clearly, this footage was taken months earlier. The method for determining wind direction in the video is quite simple. There is a church in the background, and churches are usually built facing east so that sunlight shines from behind, giving the priests a heavenly appearance. By observing the direction the leaves are blowing in the video, one can determine the wind direction. As for yesterday's wind direction at the crime scene, everyone should already know that. The police exchange confused glances, unsure if Morgan is mocking them. Morgan ignores all of this because she is very busy. She has 3 kids at home waiting for her care. Selena, curious about Morgan's knowledge, learns that Morgan is a fan of watching documentaries. With her remarkable intellect, Morgan often only needs 1 to 2 hours of sleep each day. However, because her IQ is so high, she cannot resist correcting mistakes when she sees them, which makes it hard for her to fit in with others. Eventually, she ends up working the night shift as a cleaner. Adam goes to pick up Letty, the victim's daughter. He needs her to share what she knows. A few weeks ago, the victim received a farewell letter from Sarah. She doesn't know the content, but the victim was devastated after learning that Sarah had taken her own life. That letter is now in the victim's office. As she leaves the police station, Morgan sees the victim's daughter. Being a mother herself, she deeply understands the girl's feelings at this moment. Selena also arrives and tells Morgan that if she agrees to assist with the investigation, she'll find a way to waive the fine and keep Morgan from being detained. After some persuasion, Morgan agrees, not out of fear of the penalty, but because she wants to help the girl who's looking for her mother. As soon as she joins the investigation team, the first thing Morgan does is point out several mistakes in Adam's analysis of the case. If it weren't for Selena's protection, Adam would have already locked Morgan in the holding cell. Later, they go to the victim's sister's house for questioning. Just by glancing at items in the cabinet and a biology essay on the table, Morgan suspects that this woman is hiding something and keeps questioning her alibi. Adam feels frustrated, believing that Morgan is only a consultant while he is the actual detective. They have a loud argument downstairs, and Morgan storms off, but soon finds Adam in the men's restroom. Although she often argues with her colleagues, Morgan never neglects her work. She disguises herself as a cleaning staff member, sneaks into the woman's company, and finds a suspicious letter in the victim's drawer. Adam is stunned by Morgan's actions. He wonders how many documentaries Morgan must have watched, because he knows that evidence obtained this way cannot be used. Adam doesn't even dare to look at the letter, fearing he'll be implicated with Morgan. However, as a responsible officer, Adam still summons the victim's client. Yet this person also has an alibi for the day of the incident, although Morgan completely doubts it. The man claims that he went to a small town that day for a short vacation. However, the town only has a water park and a dance floor. Not exactly the kind of place a business executive would choose. As an advisor, Morgan isn't allowed in the interrogation room, so she can only knock on the door and suggest they ask more about what he did there. But when his lawyer arrives, the police reluctantly release the suspect, leaving Morgan very disappointed. Morgan feels frustrated because the police asked for her help but don't trust her. Adam even sends her home. The next day, Adam reluctantly visits Morgan's house to discuss his doubts. Morgan doesn't hesitate to ask Adam to watch her kids, then starts her analysis. At the victim's sister's house, she noticed many items covered in dust, except for a pair of frog figurines labeled with the name of the tourist town. This suggests that the victim's sister recently visited that town, where the man also went. It can't just be a coincidence. After dropping her kids off at school, Morgan and Adam go to the victim's house. She remembers that there was a photo on the victim's daughter's phone from 3 days before the incident, showing flowers that were still fresh. But in the police scene photo, the flowers had wilted. These flowers usually stay fresh for 4 or 5 days. Connecting this with the victim's sister's profession as a biologist and the man's job as a security technology expert, they realize the two may have adjusted the room's temperature to alter the time of death, creating an alibi. They didn't harm the other person because she was the victim's sister, likely out of affection. The tourist spot they visited wasn't random. It's where the sisters grew up. The police quickly locate the missing victim, who is found alive but tied up in a cabin. The case is successfully solved, and Morgan receives an official job offer from the police. After some thought, she declines because she doesn't want to be away from her family. Still, Selena promises to keep the position open for her. Adam also respects Morgan's decision. Watching the mother and daughter reunite, Morgan feels happy that she has helped someone, and thinks maybe this is the right job for her.
If I work for you, you work for me too. I need you to find someone. His name is Roman Sinquera, and he vanished 15 years ago.
A man falls from the rooftop onto his own car. In the initial investigation, Adam thinks he might have accidentally slipped while dancing, or that it was a possible suicide. But Morgan just smiles without saying anything, not wanting to hurt Adam's pride. By looking at the way the car is maintained, it's clear the owner cared a lot about it. If he intended to take his own life, would he destroy his beloved car? When they arrive at the scene, Morgan notices the direction in which the phone holder fell, and finds evidence that the police missed. Based on the wear on the phone screen, she guesses the owner is left-handed. Adam unlocks the phone.
Oh! Michelangelo's 1487 painting, The Torment of St. Anthony.
Morgan immediately realizes that the owner is a Catholic, and also a baseball fan from the sticker on the back. None of this matches the victim, which suggests there was a second person on the rooftop. According to Morgan, while the victim was dancing under the moonlight, this person suddenly appeared from the shadows. Adam can't argue with her logic, though he feels a bit frustrated working with someone as sharp as Morgan. When they arrive at the hospital to visit the victim, Morgan immediately notices that 2 of the victim's friends are left-handed. One is wearing a cross pendant, and there's a man with a tattoo of baseball stitches on his arm. Adam immediately brings him to the station. Faced with questioning, the suspect, Roland, denies pushing the victim, insisting they were very close friends. Morgan, frustrated outside the door, loudly says that just checking the phone would show Roland was on the rooftop last night. Faced with undeniable evidence, Roland admits he went to the rooftop, but insists that a shadowy figure pushed the victim. The police don't believe him, as his words seem baseless and the camera only captured the victim's car entering the alley, with no one else around. Morgan glances over the documents and starts thinking. While everyone dismisses the idea of a third person, Morgan proposes a different theory.
He might. What'd you guys do with Damien's car?
To confirm, she wants to examine the car again. In the trunk, the police find some paint marks, but since the victim was a car painter, no one paid attention to it. Morgan suggests that a third person could have hidden in the trunk to enter the scene without being caught on camera. Adam objects, pointing out that the trunk has been modified for safety, and anyone inside wouldn't be able to open it on their own. Morgan just smiles and asks him to check the trunk. While Adam is preparing to dismiss her theory, the trunk suddenly opens. Morgan laughs and steps out, explaining that the safety latch was tampered with. This explains why a well-maintained car had unusual paint marks. The third person was actually a co-worker of the victim at the repair shop. Adam has to admit that once again, Morgan was a great help.
The two go to the repair shop, but it's clear that Adam doesn't get along with the staff there. Even after showing his police badge, no one pays him much attention. In the end, Morgan has to step in. Besides working as a cleaner, she has done many blue-collar jobs, so with just a few friendly words, she gets them comfortable enough to open up. After chatting for a while, the co-workers express sympathy for the victim, confirming that he was very friendly and had no conflicts with anyone, just as Roland said. When they return to the station and report back, Selena seems surprised, wondering why, with two people going to investigate, Adam didn't gather any information himself. Adam, slightly embarrassed, says that there's no need to investigate so deeply. Just verifying the alibi is enough. While they're in a meeting, the neighboring crime unit needs support for a robbery case.
Beggars can't be choosers. I'll take anyone, except the cleaning lady.
Morgan rolls her eyes but stays silent. After going home, she and her daughter look at paintings by Roman, her husband who disappeared 15 years ago. However, her daughter, feeling rebellious, insists that her father abandoned them. Although Morgan is very smart, she's at a loss about how to handle her daughter's rebellious attitude. Looking at the paintings, she suddenly remembers a detail related to the case. In the middle of the night, she drags Adam to the scene to reenact the situation. Based on their positions, if the attacker wanted to push the victim, he would have had to hide behind a nearby stone wall and wait until the victim turned his back. Hearing this, Adam starts to feel frustrated, thinking he already knew that detail. But the next detail catches his attention. Morgan explains an astronomical phenomenon called the opposition effect.
The opposition effect is an astronomical phenomenon during the first and last quarter phases of the moon cycle. That is when the moon is at a 90-degree angle to the sun, and that's when it's at its brightest.
On the night of the incident, this phenomenon happened by chance. Because of this, the attacker's vision was blurred by the bright moonlight and couldn't see clearly who he was pushing. This led the attacker to mistakenly harm the victim, who was well-liked by many. And since Roland is still alive, there's a chance the attacker might try again. Morgan and Adam quickly call Roland, but the music is too loud, so they can't communicate. Morgan checks the song and finds that only one bar plays that song. They immediately drive there. Even though they know the location, finding Roland in the bar is not easy. Morgan convinces the workers from the repair shop to help search. However, they arrive too late. When they find Roland, he has already passed away, with a wound on his abdomen, showing that the attacker was someone he knew. The police arrive quickly and secure the scene. Morgan is quiet. It's the first time she has witnessed someone lose their life in front of her. If she had arrived a bit earlier, she might have saved Roland. Luckily, the bar has cameras. Although they didn't capture the attacker's face, there is a flash of light when the weapon fires. Morgan takes note of this detail and starts thinking quickly, trying to piece together the missing clues to find the answer. At that moment, Morgan happens to pass by the room where the robbery investigation is taking place and notices a photo on the board. She immediately realizes that the flash from the robber's gun matches the one in Roland's case. Although she's not a weapons expert, having gone hunting with her child, she knows that an old hunting gun with lots of copper and lead in the barrel would produce a spark like that. This doesn't confirm that both cases have the same culprit, but Morgan is sure the gun is the same. Recognizing Morgan's skills, Adam decides to combine the two cases for investigation. While organizing the information, Morgan can't resist commenting.
Lieutenant Mellon has terrible handwriting.
Oh, the worst.
And then, her analysis begins. After connecting the clues, Morgan already has the answer in her mind, but she has to think about how to explain it to her colleagues.
Cleaning lady's rearranging my boards.
You see a cleaning lady. I see more.
Morgan explains that there have been a total of 5 robberies, and in the first 3, witnesses saw the robber driving away each time in a different car. In the last 2 cases, he didn't drive, possibly because he couldn't find a car, or perhaps a bigger possibility, his driver had left. Morgan draws a red line connecting the last 2 cases and asks,
Really? Does no one take public transit?
It's clearly a bus route. The robber changed his appearance and escaped by bus, which is why the last 2 robberies happened near a bus stop. Roland, who worked at an auto repair shop, could easily get access to customers' car keys. After the 3rd robbery, he likely found new enjoyment from dancing with friends and decided to quit the robberies. However, his partner didn't let it go and even tried multiple times to harm Roland to prevent being exposed. The 2nd attempt succeeded. But who is this person?
No, I don't. But I do have an idea about how we can find him.
Not long after, at a jewelry store, the robber steps in, only to find the police surrounding him. Based on the clues, Morgan couldn't pinpoint the exact suspect, but she figured out which store would be targeted next. The culprit turned out to be an employee from the auto repair shop, and it seems that his first friend he harmed left such a strong impression that he couldn't help but shed tears of regret. Morgan's first case is successfully solved. Thanks to her excellent performance, Adam arranges a reward for her. When she arrives home, Morgan also gets some good news from Selena.
If Roman really wanted to abandon your family, why would he stop and buy diapers first?
You believe me?
We're gonna find out what happened to Roman. I promise.
A man is taking a bath when someone suddenly pulls his legs. After struggling, he drowns in the water. Adam, he only comments that, judging by the candles and scattered clothes at the scene, the victim likely had a wild night. Morgan nods in approval. However, she points out more subtle details. The towels on the floor, 2 are folded, but the one on top is different. This suggests the suspect used the towel to clean the scene. Morgan kneels down and explains that a professional cleaner would use a mop. However, the marks at the scene clearly show the floor was wiped with a towel. As a guest, the victim wouldn't be so kind as to wipe the floor and then fold the towel. The victim may have met a woman with black hair the night before and was drugged before drowning. Adam interrupts, asking how Morgan knows the victim was drugged without an autopsy. Morgan explains simply,
Well, 'cause who does their dishes in a hotel room? Except you, maybe. Anyway, this glass was rinsed out and wiped clean, and why would you do that unless you were trying to get rid of white residue? Notice anything else about the glass?
All right, so whiskey tumbler, lead-free crystal cut, which is harder and more durable than glass, withstands most scratches. Also refracts light beautifully.
You want me to know you drink whiskey so bad.
Point being,
Adam quickly notices that the glass is very different from the usual ones in the room. According to Morgan's theory, the victim must have met a woman at a bar. They had a good time and went to the hotel together. They head to a nearby bar to investigate. The bartender confirms that the victim was with an attractive woman, but she had blonde hair.
Really?
Even though this differs from the initial theory, it doesn't change the situation. Hotel footage shows the blonde woman and the victim in the room for about 30 minutes. After she leaves, no one else enters. Additionally, the woman is a doctor, giving her access to medication. The police now have enough reason to bring her in for questioning. This is Morgan's first time participating in an interrogation. She quickly notices that the blonde woman is married. When asked about her relationship with the victim, the woman explains it was just casual fun between 2 adults, nothing serious. She says she went to the bathroom, and when she came out, the victim was asleep, so she left. However, the evidence clearly shows that no one else entered the victim's room after she left. Adam decides to cuff her, but Morgan suddenly pieces together the clues in her mind. She realizes the woman isn't lying. There were candles around the bathtub, and all of them had burned out except for one at the bottom, which was only halfway melted. This indicates that water splashing from the tub extinguished it when the victim struggled. If each candle burns for 4 hours, the incident happened 2 hours after the victim entered the room. This means the victim was still alive when the woman left.
Can I leave now?
Adam reluctantly lowers the cuffs and looks at Morgan seriously. He tells her she'd better find another suspect, or he will really lose his temper. The next day, Morgan doesn't go to the police station. She takes the evidence from the case home instead. She hopes her son, who has inherited her sharp mind, can help find clues about the suspect. Adam immediately shows up at Morgan's house, trying to control his anger. Taking evidence home is already against the rules, but letting someone else touch it, even with gloves, is still a violation. However, Morgan doesn't feel she did anything wrong. Everyone brings work home these days. She's doing unpaid overtime, so why is Adam still unhappy? Adam explains that the rules exist for a reason. If anyone finds out the evidence was taken out of the police station, it can't be used in court anymore. Luckily, Morgan has made a new discovery. The stitching on the victim's pants is unique. Only tailors in Madagascar use this technique. In that area, diagonal stitching is considered bad luck. Adam doesn't see how the stitching connects to the suspect, but agrees to search for the right tailors. To be fair, Adam isn't great at solving cases, but he's very good at finding people. After showing the victim's photo, a tailor provides a name that doesn't match the victim's hotel records. Could the victim have multiple identities and be a spy? Morgan thinks solving this is simple. They just need to go to the hotel's parking lot and use the victim's car keys. The car will likely have more clues. Even though Morgan once again breaks the rules by taking evidence outside, Adam doesn't say anything further. They quickly trace the car registration to the victim's home, Eduardo Cortez. During a conversation with the victim's wife, Adam purposely mentions that her husband was with another woman before he died. Morgan wonders why Adam would hurt the family of such a deceitful man. Morgan is very smart, but she's not as skilled as Adam in questioning or handling emotions. Adam uses a photo of the woman to check if the wife knows her, ruling out jealousy as a motive. Clearly, both Adam and Morgan have things to learn from each other. Next, they need to figure out why the victim used a fake identity and how the suspect avoided security cameras to enter the room. From the crime scene photos, Morgan notices the window is open. Could the suspect have climbed in through the window? Adam immediately objects, as the room is on the 4th floor. Still, they need to check. At the window ledge, they find a layer of makeup powder. The rough wall surface suggests the suspect may have climbed through the window to get inside. After confirming how the suspect entered, they discover a new clue. The victim's account recently received $200,000. As a taxi driver, he couldn't have earned that much money. Following the money trail, they visit a retirement home and meet the person who transferred the funds. Shockingly, the woman claims she was engaged to the victim and was planning a honeymoon in Mexico. Her son is furious, knowing his mother was scammed. They now confirm the victim's true identity, a con artist who deceived women to steal their money. Morgan later returns to visit the victim's daughter, who has just lost her father. In a photo of the mother and daughter, Morgan notices a strange tattoo. Morgan arranges to meet Adam at a bar and orders a drink for him. Adam is surprised. They haven't known each other for long, so how does Morgan know what he likes? It turns out that after working as a janitor at the police station for a month, Morgan has learned to figure out people's personalities based on their trash. She probably knows Adam better than he knows himself. When the bartender brings the drink, Morgan points out the tattoo from the photo of the victim. It's a snake, identical to the one on the bartender's wrist. Adam turns to the bartender with a serious look. Sensing danger, the bartender tries to escape. But Adam, as always, is excellent at catching people.
Put the gun down.
Soon, the bartender is restrained and taken to the police station. Adam, however, is still furious. If Morgan knew the bartender was suspicious, why didn't she inform him earlier?
How can someone as smart as you are do so many stupid things?
They have a heated argument. Morgan, frustrated by being criticized by someone she sees as less intelligent, declares she will quit. Adam, still angry, questions whether the police can solve any cases without her. Back at the station, Adam interrogates the bartender. The bartender insists he is not the killer. His role was only to help the victim find wealthy, vulnerable women. He explains that he and the victim met in prison, which is why they have matching tattoos. When the case hits a dead end, Morgan shows up at the station the next morning with a smile. She's not someone who gives up easily. Morgan points out that the bartender has long nails, which doesn't match someone capable of climbing to the 4th floor. Last night, Adam interrupted her before she could explain that the real suspect must have short nails and be skilled at climbing. The elderly woman's son from the care home fits this description. He owns climbing gear and has the ability to scale the building and attack the victim, drowning him afterward. His motive was to avenge his mother. When Adam orders his arrest, Morgan adds that they need to arrest one more person. The hotel window is normally locked. The suspect must have had an accomplice inside who opened the window and spiked the victim's drink. This person is the doctor they arrested earlier in the case. Finally, the case is solved. That day, the elderly woman's son planned to expose the victim scam but accidentally met the doctor. After hearing what his mother went through, the doctor also wanted revenge. The two teamed up and carefully planned what they thought was the perfect way to punish the victim. They didn't believe they were doing anything wrong. To them, Killing a scammer who preyed on the elderly and women was doing society a favor. However, despite being a scammer, the victim was still a loving father to his daughter. After the accomplices are arrested, Morgan apologizes to Adam. She admits that she sometimes lets her emotions take over and says things in the heat of the moment. To show her sincerity, Morgan bakes a cake for Adam, knowing it's his favorite. Morgan notices something strange about the plants in front of her. The garden owner planted cucumbers and tomatoes together. These two plants don't grow well together and compete for nutrients. A basic mistake like this shouldn't happen to an expert. Realizing something, Morgan kneels down to inspect the plants. She finds that they haven't even taken root.
What are you saying, Morgan?
I think this space was empty until Wendell moved all these plants in here within the last few days.
But you just said that he would never do that.
Yeah, he wouldn't, unless he had a reason, something to hide.
Or someone.
They immediately start digging and discover a body buried beneath the soil. Not long ago, a woman named Mia came to the police station to report that her 2 daughters might be missing. Her ex-husband had picked them up, but she couldn't contact him. He seemed to have vanished. After the divorce, they fight for custody. Adding to the complexity, Mia's wealthy father, John, holds a deep grudge against her ex-husband. The police later find that the man purchases a cabin in the woods. When they arrive to investigate, they witness the scene from the beginning of the case. According to forensics, the man is dead for about 12 hours. A cafe owner tells the police that the victim argues with a woman the day before. The woman is around 30, with long hair and glasses. At the scene, the police find a hidden photo inside a book.
Find out.
Shortly after, Morgan and the team visit Mia's house. Hearing the news, the family appears confused. While Adam questions Mia, Morgan wanders around the house and chats with the housekeeper. Morgan learns that the victim isn't as bad as the rumors suggest. He treats the children very well. Last weekend, the housekeeper even sees him leaving John's office. Back at the station, Morgan reviews documents and notices something odd in the custody case. The report claims that the victim gives the children unhealthy snacks, which doesn't make sense for someone who grows his own vegetables and fruits. This is just one of many inconsistencies. Hearing this, Adam remembers something. After a simple search, he identifies the woman who argues with the victim. It is Sarah, someone responsible for risk assessments and writing reports. Sarah insists that she works fairly and without bias. But after a quick look, Morgan notices some clues. Overdue bills pile on the table, something Morgan is all too familiar with. Sarah's personal items are all bargain purchases. But what stands out is a wreath hanging on a picture frame. The wreath contains fresh berries from the Mokihana plant, native to the island of Kauai. A trip to Kauai is a luxury for someone in Sarah's situation.
How comfy are those super soft slippers at a luxury 5-star resort? Geez, I wonder what the A could possibly stand for.
Sarah's expression changes immediately. Just as Morgan suspects, Sarah can't afford such extravagances. It turns out that a billionaire invites her to the resort in exchange for falsifying the risk report. The slippers she wears are disposable ones from that hotel. Exposed, Sarah confesses everything. She meets with the victim that day because he discovers some dark secrets and plans to expose John, hoping to win back custody. Bribed, Sarah refuses to help and walks away. The billionaire John now becomes the prime suspect. However, John's bodyguard testifies that they worked together until 10 p.m. that night.
How was traffic?
Bad. Traffic's always bad.
Those tickets from the toll?
No, fast pass.
Yeah, write down your make and model. We'll check the cameras. Or you could just skip to the truth, Curtis. Did Mr. Ashford pressure you to lie?
Curtis.
He did. I don't know where Mr. Ashford was last night, but I didn't drive him anywhere.
At the same time, Morgan notices some scratches on a cabinet, sparking a new theory. According to the housekeeper, she saw the victim coming out of John's office. Morgan prints a document using the office printer and sees that the pink smudge on the paper matches the one found on the photo from the victim's home. Although Morgan doubts John would harm the children, they realize he is definitely involved. Adam discovers that the man in the photo is a local Supreme Court judge. This judge has repeatedly helped John build hotels in protected areas. If these actions are investigated, they will be impossible to cover up. Adam also finds a message John sent that day. Must speak. Urgent. With no other choice, John admits everything but insists he never intended to kill the victim. When they locate the man who received the message, his testimony surprises everyone. The man explains that he did receive the message and only wanted to persuade the victim not to reveal the secret. However, when he arrived, The victim was already arguing with Mia. Seeing the situation, he left. Yet, Mia never mentioned this to the police. As a mother herself, Morgan wants to believe Mia. But Mia's sudden unreachability complicates things. That night, when Morgan returns home, she sees news about the missing girls on TV. The images spark an idea. The scratches on the cabinet were caused by someone moving a Buddha statue. The purpose of moving the statue was to unlock the cabinet. However, nothing inside was missing. This means one thing: something inside had been replaced. Morgan goes to an antique shop and finds Mia there, selling items.
How did you know I'd be here?
Well, Google tells me that this guy is an expert in Chinese antiques and your mom loves China. Honestly, I think your family's hogging all the books on the subject. So tell me, am I correct that the Ming at your parents' house is a fake? Because it had a little boy playing Colin Maillard on it, and that wouldn't exactly be historically accurate, would it?
Well,
no, it's not, because Colin Maillard became a hit in the 16th century, so little boys wouldn't be playing it in the Ming. You know what? It doesn't matter. That's not the point. The point is, the Ming at your parents' house is not real because you put a fake in there to replace the real one, which is right here. So tell me, Mia, why do you need so much cash?
Exposed, Mia no longer hides the truth. She admits she received a call from a stranger saying her daughters had been kidnapped. The caller demanded $200,000 and warned her not to contact the police. Mia couldn't tell her father because she knew he would insist on reporting it. Left with no choice, she came up with a plan. Sell some antiques to gather the money. Morgan informs Adam about the situation. Together, they accompany Mia to the drop-off point. However, after taking the money, the kidnapper refuses to release the girls. Fortunately, Adam had placed a tracker in the bag. They chase the suspect but stop when he sets the car on fire. Worried the girls might be in the trunk, they prioritize rescuing them. When they open the trunk, they find it empty. Meanwhile, the suspect escapes. After extinguishing the fire, Morgan inspects the car. She notices the suspect is relatively short. Turning on the car radio, she hears a gambling program, sparking a new idea. Morgan now knows who the real kidnapper is. Despite plenty of shade, he parked directly in the sun, right in front of the mansion. Morgan realizes this spot aligned perfectly with Mia's room. The driver could watch Mia from the car. It's clear he secretly admired her. To impress Mia, the driver wanted to get rich quickly through gambling. Instead of winning, he lost everything. Desperate, he resorted to kidnapping. His plan was not only to get ransom money but also to win Mia's heart when she was most vulnerable.
Wendell didn't deserve Mia.
Just as Morgan suspects, Curtis confesses without remorse. When asked why he didn't release the girls after getting the money, he says they escaped on their own that morning. However, since the place where they were held is deep in the forest, the girls are now missing again. Upon hearing this, the police launch a wide search. Meanwhile, Morgan finds a survival guide in the victim's house. Following the first rule, go toward the sunrise or follow migrating birds, which means heading north. Soon, they find walnut shells along the path.
Rule number 2, feed off forest resources. Rule number 3, indicate your presence with a recognizable sign.
Over here! This way!
And take shelter while you wait for help.
Finally, they reach the girls, safe and in each other's embrace.